Good morning and happy Friday. Welcome back to the Daily Grind. I'm your host, Chump Change. This is live and recorded. For those of you that might be new here, what we typically do is go over crypto news or news in general in the space. I update myself, bring you guys along for the ride. Sorry for the late start. YouTube is acting funny. So if things crash for some reason, I'm just gonna take a break because I've been trying to go live for like 20 minutes and I don't know what's going on here. But anyways, let's see who's in the chat and then we'll get into this. Mr. Allset, good morning. Tyson Coin, good to see you, buddy. Andrew Masad, we have Black Hat Team, I Need My BTC, Nismo Miner, Nick K, Leo Lustig, my man Savage White, good to see you, buddy. We have Silver Days in the chat, good morning. All for you miners. Miss Deborah, good to see you. Adam Williams, good to see you, buddy. Daddy Chill, see if I missed anybody. Steven Cicero, as always, my man. Crypto KJ, perfect. Crypto for Seniors, everybody else I may have missed, I apologize. Let's get into this. All right, Bitcoin looks like 70,198 bucks. It's in the red, but it still looks great. We have Ethereum at 25.23, Solana at 168 bucks, XRP 51 cents. We have ADA over here at just under 35 cents, 34.8. Caspa is pretty much the only thing in the green, or looks to be one of the only things in the green, at 12 cents. It's still not very impressive, but at least it's a lot better than it was yesterday. We have Near Protocol down 5% to $4 over here. ETC is at $18.50. Celestia is another one in the green today, up 4% to $4.78. Let's see, the meme coin's getting a little bit wrecked, huh? 5% down in the day on these ones. Interesting. Is this the last fire sale? 70,000 Bitcoin and we're having a fire sale? Is that what's going on? This carry coin or token or whatever this is, 40 cents over here, 7.52% up on the day. BitTensor is at 466 bucks. This might be a good buy. Financial advice. Let's see, Toncoin over here, $4.91. Nice. BNB 578. Everything looks pretty good. Everything looks pretty good, even though it's red. All right, Crypto Bubbles, see what the biggest loser of the day is. We got Immutable X over here at 13.5% down to $1.17. Where is Sui? Right here, 4% down. Might just have missed. Coin 360 kind of throws things in weird spots sometimes. I don't know where it is on this chart, but Crypto Bubbles, Sui's right there, down 4% to $1.94. I wonder how do you guys feel about Sui? Is anybody into that? I don't know. I think it's gonna do well, but I wouldn't be a long-term holder, in my opinion. WIF down 9% today. We have, let's see, Dogecoin's down 5.4%, again 16.2. Yeah, nothing really jumping out at me. I mean, Caspa's the biggest earner of the day, 4.1%. It's not by much, but it's there, 12 cents. Celestia just took first place. Never mind. I null and void the Caspa winning the day. It is 4.2 over here, Celestia, $4.79. Yeah, that's about it. All right, flashbang. Fear and Greed Index looking like a 75. Perfect. That's what I wanted. I wanted it to come back to 75 or a little bit under today. Again, between 75 and 50 are pretty decent numbers. Anything over 75 makes me a little nervous that the market's gonna have a big pullback. As you can see, Extreme Greed 77, and today everything's in the red. Be fearful when people are greedy, be greedy when people are fearful. That's kind of the consensus of this whole chart, right? And Warren Buffett's favorite quote. All right, let's move on to top 10 coins by coin market cap over on CoinGecko. We got Bitcoin starting at a $1.385 trillion market cap. We got Ethereum, Tether, BNB, Solana, USDC, XRP, Lido Staked Ether, Dogecoin, and Tron in 10th place at a $14.4 billion market cap. We have Cardano down in 12th place at a $12.4 billion. It moved down a rank. It wasn't 11th yesterday. Sui's in 23rd place over here at a $5.5 billion market cap. Looking pretty good. Litecoin just after that in 24th place at 5.1. We get Caspa over here at a $3 billion market cap. At least it's back in the 3. Nice. We have BitTensor at a 3.4 in 31st place. Ethereum Classic at 36th place at a 2.7. Nice. All right, let's move on to the mining segment of things. Gotta kind of blast through this today. I don't have much news. We're just gonna watch one clip and then a couple videos I want to try to get through. Unfortunately, YouTube didn't want to cooperate this morning, so we're running a little behind. All right, biggest earner for miners, we have the L9 17 gigahash unit over here. Let me just refresh this, make sure. Making $24.09 a day. The L9 takes first place.
Perfect.
We have the AL1 Pro 16.6 terahash unit making $23.76. How is lithium doing this morning? Don't have high hopes. Down almost 10%. Jesus. Yeah, I took a little shit, huh? For the last 24 hours. Man, people getting those profits or taking their money back, hopefully. The L9 16 gigahash unit over here making $22.67 a day. Again, 85% of that is in Dogecoin. We have the AL1 15.6 terahash unit making $22.31 a day. The AL3 15 terahash unit is making $21.16. Nice. Offshore miner says, I need another L9. Been considering it for a few weeks. Might pull the trigger before it gets pricey. Offshore, you already have an L9? Dude, good for you, man. That's sick. Good for you. I only have the L7 right here. But the L7 9050 3-year-old plus machine being hosted down Terra Hosting. If you guys are interested, links in the description. 9050 is making $9.17 a day. This thing was making $11 yesterday. I was so excited when I saw $11. It's crazy. I still can't believe it's making $9 a day. That's still a lot. That's nuts. Absolutely nuts. And that's after 10 cents a kilowatt hour. That's after paying your electric bill, which is cool. I mean, up here, obviously, it would be way worse. I wonder what it would make up here, actually, if I was paying 30 cents to run that thing still. Let's see. Right here. L7 9050, I would be losing $7 a day.
Bruh.
Oh, that'd be terrible. That'd be absolutely terrible. That's why I have that hosted, because I can't run those machines up here. It's awful. I mean, I could run it on solar. It'd just be a real shit show. Yeah. All right, let's see what else we got. Dude, the X16Q, you remember when these things were killing it? 1.95 gigahashes, 620 watts. They were like the best ETC miner ever. They get 82 cents a day.
Bruh.
Terrible. Absolutely terrible. AL Box 2 Pro 9050. They get 77 cents. God, we need a bull run. we need the bull run to start right now. Stop waiting. All right, moving on. GPUs. Let's see. Most profitable coin to mine seems to be a Leo still. How's a Leo looking? Down almost 1% today to $1.50. Shit rolls downhill, people. And fast. Well, mine it and sell it, my opinion. We got a Bitcoin Gold over here in 7900 XT. Good Xano also. Nice. Conflicts of Pyron. Didn't this project get rugged? Am I wrong? Didn't Pyron get rugged? Didn't it get rugged? They just kind of shut it down. The dev said, like, eat a fat D and just left. Yeah, it definitely got rugged. Yeah, I don't know how that's on the list. All right. Weird. Very weird. All right, well, I wouldn't recommend mining that, but Aleo seems to be the consensus. A little bit of Chlor, maybe. Zealous. Wart. How's Zealous doing, actually? 25%. Nice. 4.35. $4.35 in 24 hours. Been doing pretty good. Nice. I mean, it's still down the last month, but last 3 months, but it's better than it was yesterday. That's all that matters. All that matters. All right, CPUs. Oh god, heard something glitch. Hopefully it's not my stream. My stream dies, I apologize. ETI, what the hell is this? CPU coins. No more Zephyr? What happened to Zephyr? Weird. ETI, what the hell is ETI? ETI. Etika? What is this? 6 cents? It's down 12% today? Is anybody mining this? What is it? What's the project? Probably nothing, like most of these CPU coins. If you say privacy bullshit, I'm out. Because XMR is the only one that I support with that stuff. All right, yeah, I mean Duro's on here too. Duro, I haven't heard of that in a while. Duro, 8.7% down, $1.17. Oh, Dero, I don't know how you're supposed to say that. Yeah, Etika, nope. LMAO, no. I don't know. I don't know what you guys are saying, but I'm assuming it's not a privacy coin, but who knows. All right, anyways, I don't care. Getting into the news segment of things, I want to see what they got to say over here. Bitcoin retreats to 70,000 to close out October. Hopefully you guys had a happy and safe Halloween, by the way. It was actually super fun with the kids last night, and it was beautiful weather out around here. All right, let's do it.
Today, cryptocurrencies head lower as Bitcoin retreats from $72,000. Former FTX executive Nishad Singh avoids prison time, and Faryar Shahzad of Coinbase explains why the company is already funding crypto interest groups for the 2026 midterms.
It's on speed this morning.
Welcome to CNBC's Crypto World. I'm Mackenzie Sigalos. Digital currencies are turning lower this morning as Bitcoin moves away from the $72,000 mark that it hovered at yesterday. By noon Eastern, that cryptocurrency fell about 2%, while Ether sank around 4.5%. Solana dropping nearly 2% at the same time. And over on Wall Street, Coinbase and Robinhood both reported earnings, and both are headed lower today. Coinbase dropping about 10.5% by around midday after muted crypto trading in the third quarter led to an earnings miss. Robinhood fell more than 15% so far today after also missing Wall Street's expectations. Okay, let's talk about the top stories. FTX executive Nishad Singh avoided prison time in his sentencing yesterday. The ex-employee faced a maximum of 75 years in prison for his role in the collapse of the crypto exchange, but the judge overseeing the case sentenced him to time served and 3 years of supervised release. Judge Kaplan called Singh's cooperation with the government remarkable.
Wait, he was facing like 75 years and he got time served with 3 years released? What?
Was convinced that Singh's role in the fraud at the company was far more limited than Sam Bankman-Fried or Caroline Ellison's. Now, Singh is the fourth top employee from FTX to face criminal sentencing, but the first to walk away without a multi-year prison sentence. Gary Wang, the company's ex-technology chief, faces sentencing at the end of November. Next, FinTech conference Money 2020 just wrapped up in Vegas, and I stopped by to talk to some attendees and find out which parts of the crypto industry are getting the most attention. I'm here at Money 2020 in Las Vegas. This is the year's flagship fintech event where the biggest names in payments talk about what's next for the industry. And this year, what's on everybody's mind is stablecoins, that subset of cryptocurrencies pegged to the value of a real-world asset, which is now virtually synonymous with the U.S. digital dollar.
I think what's really interesting at this Money 2020 this year is that everybody is talking about fintech. Everybody's diving into the stablecoin industry, stablecoin market. Everybody's focused on integrating finance and technology. It's finally come to this really big place where everybody's getting involved, the big players and small players.
This is going to be the first year where stablecoins actually settle more than Visa, which is mind-blowing to think about. And I think stablecoins and crypto more broadly have just become much bigger than most people realize. We still see a lot of like aha moments when you tell people how big the stablecoin market has gotten, how big crypto has gotten. You tell them 600 million people are already using crypto and their head explodes.
Stripe just announced in the last week that it wants to buy a stablecoin infrastructure company for $1.1 billion, an acquisition that many say is designed to help the $70 billion fintech giant diversify its way of facilitating payments. Right now, Visa and MasterCard dominate. They also charge a per-transaction fee to a payment processor like Stripe. But with stablecoins, transactions can cost less than a penny and happen virtually instantaneously. This crypto payment rail has been gaining momentum and attention from some pretty notable names in the business. Earlier this month, Visa announced VTAP, or the Visa Tokenized Asset Platform, which is making it easier for banks to launch their own stablecoins. Blockchain giant Ripple is launching its own stablecoin, as is BitGo, and even PayPal launched a US dollar-pegged coin called PYUSD over a year ago as legacy players look to tap into this new technology.
Stablecoins are the bridge between the crypto ecosystem and the traditional financial system, and that's why you see the leading fintechs, right? Stripe and PayPal and Visa and others really lean into the use of stablecoins.
The question now is whether the big credit card companies will follow suit with their own rival stablecoins. There's also the question of whether the two dominant players in the ecosystem, Tether's USDT and Circle's USDC, can keep a hold of their lead. Tether currently has a market cap of more than $120 billion and accounts for roughly 70% of the entire market. Just Friday, the Wall Street Journal reported that the DOJ is looking into Tether for possible violations of sanctions and anti-money laundering rules, a story which Tether says is based on pure rank speculation and that it has no knowledge of any such investigations. Now, whether that probe opens up an opportunity for rivals to take share is yet to be seen. So far, Tether has faced regulatory blowback in the past, but nobody has come close to competing with them for the top slot. Now, outside of stablecoins, the other big talker this year at Money 2020 is new use cases for AI in payments. Stripe and NVIDIA unpacked how to use AI to fight fraud and promote growth at the same time. PayPal, Block, and Coinbase all talking about the potential for AI to revolutionize payment rails. With Coinbase Ventures just this past week talking about investing in startups building AI on top of blockchains as a way to decentralize the AI stack. The common theme here is that even in the payments industry, AI is seen as a disruptive force that's doing everything from changing the game for home ownership and mortgage processing to reshaping consumer lending. All right, for our main story, crypto's influence on the 2024 race has been a major focus this year, but Coinbase says that it's already looking ahead to the next national election in 2026. The company's CEO, Brian Armstrong, announced that Coinbase was committing another $25 million to Fairshake and helping boost advocates working for Stand With Crypto, not for this election in 5 days, but for 2026. Crypto World's Tanea McKeel spoke to the company's chief policy officer, Faryar Shahzad, to learn more.
Coinbase just announced it's contributing $25 million to the pro-crypto super PAC Fairshake for the 2026 election, along with upping Stand With Crypto's advocates for those midterms. So you're already looking past the election that's happening 5 days from now. Tell me why Coinbase is making this move right now for the next national race.
Well, we've been very pleased with the impact that our political efforts have had already at this point. We've been able to have good conversation with candidates up and down the ballot at the presidential level and the House and Senate. And we've been really gratified by the degree to which we've been able to bring the 52 million Americans who own crypto into the political debate and really make a difference. So we're very pleased with what we've been able to do. We already feel like crypto's won the election cycle, and we're eager to kind of stay at it and repeat for the 2026 midterms as well.
Looking back at 2024 for just a moment, we had Paul Graywall on earlier this week. He expressed optimism about the race for president, regardless of the outcome. He said the same thing on the call last night. How are you feeling about this upcoming election and this bid for crypto candidates? And is this good news regardless of who wins? Because it seems like just a couple months ago, it was a little bit more binary, at least in sentiment. What are your thoughts?
No, I very much agree. I mean, it's just as a starting point, it's hard to imagine that you'll have any administration, Democrat or Republican, undertake the same sort of singular attack on one industry as the Biden administration has. So I think getting past the current administration will be a step
She was part of the Biden administration. What?
Up in a dramatic way. And for sure, the Trump campaign and President Trump personally have really taken a very forward-leaning stance on crypto issues, and we've been very pleased by that. But we've also been very pleased by the fact that the vice president has also integrated commentary around blockchain technology, crypto, distributed ledger technology, and some of her public remarks. And the conversations we've had with her team have been encouraging as well. So it'll be a step up.
I can't watch this shit. I can't do it. I'm sorry. I can't do it. Bunch of lies. All right. Will Donald Trump make Bitcoin explode? Over here, Anthony Pompliano. Let's do it. Videos of the day. I got to blast through this anyways. I have a few videos I want to watch. I only got 20 minutes to do it. Let's do it.
What's up, guys? Today I've got Phil Rosen. He is the co-founder and editor-in-chief of Opening Bell Daily. We talk about the U.S. economy, stocks, the presidential election, prediction markets, and what we expect to happen through the end of the year. Bitcoin's price is surging, stocks are going up, and the presidential election is almost over. So this conversation unpacks it all for you. Everything you need to know right now in the economy. So here's my latest conversation with Phil Rosen. All right, Phil, what's the first topic you want to talk about?
Okay, so Bitcoin just hit 71K. I think it's still going higher, and it's at that level for the first time since June, on track for a 12% gain in October, which would be its best month since May. How much of this do you think is the market pricing in a Trump victory, because he's been courting himself as the pro-crypto candidate?
I think the market understands three things are happening. Interest rates are going down, which means the cost of capital is going down. The money supply is expanding, which means that liquidity is coming into the market, and therefore the dollar is going to be debased. And then the third thing is I do think that the market is now saying, hey, we think Donald Trump is going to win. What's fascinating is that the first 2 points are much more important than the third point for Bitcoin's price. Now, market sentiment is very heavily tied to that third point of Donald Trump winning as president, but I think that who sits as the Fed chairman and what monetary policy is drastically more important than who sits in the Oval Office.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. But then if you look at what, for example, the media is covering, it is all about Trump and his positioning as a crypto guy. Where do you think Bitcoin goes under a Trump White House versus a Harris White House?
The media is covering that story because it drives clicks for their newspapers and their outlets. And also the media doesn't have any skin in the game. And so it's a good story. It's obvious why people are attracted to it, but I don't think that it's completely rooted in fact. In terms of where Bitcoin goes under both VP Harris or former President Trump, higher. And this may be surprising to people, but I do not think that VP Harris can hurt Bitcoin. I do not think Donald Trump can hurt Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin is predisposed to continue to benefit from the debasement of the dollar. And we're going to see the debasement of the dollar happen under either administration because both Republicans and Democrats increase the national debt and debase the currency. And so Bitcoin...
Well, nothing can hurt Bitcoin now because it's a commodity. It's not a security, right? So it's ETFs. I mean, it already freed Bitcoin. Nobody can affect it.
Is going to go higher.
But the crypto market can absolutely be affected by who by whatever administration's in the office, if they want to put, the hammer down on certain coins or certain things, that's absolutely a possibility. But Bitcoin, I don't think it's going to be affected either.
The question is how quickly, how severely are these moves? A lot of that will depend on what is the monetary policy under each one of these people.
Do you think there's a chance that Bitcoin goes higher under one or the other, as far as
that doesn't matter.
Maybe a 10 or 15% move under Trump, or maybe a 12%?
Is he wearing a tantrum ring, by the way?
I don't know.
The only thing I think the president can affect at this point in terms of Bitcoin's kind of vertical price growth is if Donald Trump actually does what he says and he creates a strategic reserve of Bitcoin for the United States. I think that would kick off a domino effect across the world, and a lot of other countries would start trying to buy as much Bitcoin as they possibly could. That is the only thing that I see a president being able to do that would have a drastic kind of advantage for Bitcoin. Everything else is pretty much noise. As we've seen, Bitcoin has continued to do well under a kind of abrasive regulatory regime. We've seen, organizations continue to adopt it, even though we had that regulatory kind of environment. And so the only lever that I think the president can pull is create the strategic stockpile. He says he's going to do it. Let's see if he can actually get it done if he becomes the president. Now, VP Harris, if she became president, it doesn't mean that she wouldn't do it. But if I was a betting person, I would say that Trump is much, much, much more likely to try to do this than VP Harris. VP Harris seems to be reactive to the Bitcoin community, kind of trying to reset relations only because she realized that those people didn't like her policies, her administration. Whereas I think Donald Trump is leaning in. He's being more proactive, and he's saying, hey, look, this thing that you have, I'm going to protect it. I'm going to make sure that you all kind of get what you want. And this is classic politics. One side is trying to serve the constituency base. The other side isn't. And so naturally, that's where you see a lot of attention, capital, support, et cetera, flowing.
Yeah.
Carl Coate in the chat said crypto will be affected by how it's taxed, and you're 100% right. So she has the be taxed on unrealized capital gains, but that's only for people that are like have over $100 million or some shit. I forget. It's like I think it's a crazy number like that, which is obviously probably not affecting any of us here, but just in general, that taxing anything on unrealized capital gains is bullshit. It's absolutely bullshit. That should not even be a law, or what do they call it? Something that could actually come to fruition. That should not happen.
I think the narrative has definitely been markets pricing in a Trump win, and that's shown up in the stock market as well. We're at near a record high in the S&P 500, but that's actually quite typical for stock market history. Stocks are always usually very, very strong during election years. I think in the last 75 years, there's only been a negative S&P 500 twice in an election year.
Maybe stocks are not going up because of one candidate or the other. Maybe stocks are going up because we're getting closer and closer to clarity. And so if we are 5 days, 6 days, 7 days, 8 days, 9 days away from the election, we're getting closer and closer and closer to getting our answer. And if neither candidate actually is going to be bad for the stock market, then actually having the clarity may be the thing people are starting to price in. I'm not saying that's 100% right, but I do think everyone focuses on who the candidate will be more so than the fact that right now there's uncertainty. Come November 6th, there's not going to be uncertainty. And therefore, as we get closer to that date, you should expect the market to be kind of revving, getting ready. And then I do think that we will see the stock market into 2025 continue to go up, regardless of who the president is. What happens in the first week after the election would be very interesting. If Donald Trump is elected, I expect it to go up. If VP Harris is elected, I do think we could see a sideways to down stock market for a week or so. And then people kind of remember, hey, structurally, stocks only go up over the long run because of that debasement of the currency.
Yeah, Crypto KJ said stocks lost nearly $1 trillion yesterday. I saw that, actually.
You think a Harris presidency or a Harris win in that first week, you said sideways or down, is that just because it would be counter to expectations?
I think that's right. As we've talked about plenty of times in our conversations for the last couple of months, is the stock market goes up under every president. The stock market has performed very well, actually better under Obama and Clinton than any Republican president in the last 50 years. And so regardless of what the actual policies are, regardless of what the actual performance is, right now, many people are pricing in a Trump victory. And so anytime that the market is surprised, people sell. And so naturally, there's this kind of like, oh, I didn't expect that, sell. Whether that's for 1 day or 1 week, I'm not sure. But I do think that if Trump gets elected, people kind of net long, let's go. If Harris gets elected, I think there'll be a little bit of surprise to people. And therefore, again, it could be a sell-off. It could be kind of just sideways. But I would be surprised if we saw a pop in stocks after Harris was elected in that first week.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. So the biggest thing that I think around the election and financial markets is really these betting markets that have come out. Kalshi and Poly Market, I think Predicted is another one. We're seeing markets, financial markets with rising bond yields, stocks and crypto all going up. And that's what people have said are pricing in a Trump victory. But I wonder how much of those financial market moves are coming from the influence of betting markets so heavily pricing in Trump.
I don't think there's as much connection between, let's say, Bitcoin and the price and the prediction market, stocks and the prediction market. If you just look at the volumes, like the volumes on these kind of assets are much, much higher than what we see in these prediction markets. Now, what I will say is there are certain assets that are more likely to be held, most likely, by people participating in the prediction market. I don't think that, BlackRock or Vanguard's on the prediction markets. And so if you think of their retirement accounts, now, yeah, they're starting to put a little bit of Bitcoin in there, but they're more S&P 500, NASDAQ, Russell 2000, kind of set it, forget it, index, be passive, and let's kind of protect your wealth. There's a lot of meme coin traders who hold, name their favorite crypto bag, who's also like, let me just go punt on, Kalshi or Polymarket or whatever. And so I do think that there's this element of, you would expect kind of the highest risk assets, the most volatile assets. Those are the ones that are going to be most likely held by these prediction market traders. And so you should see some correlations there that you might otherwise not expect, merely because it's just the same person holding these things. The other thing that I think is really interesting is the bet sizes on Kalshi between Trump and Harris. These are like pretty small investments. They're like, I think the median bet size like $35,000. We're not talking about people putting millions of dollars in. We're not talking about people putting $5 in, right? And so really it's, a couple thousand, maybe a couple tens of thousands of dollars, which frankly is kind of like a Super Bowl bet. It's enough where like, hey, I'm really paying attention, but it's not so much that if I lose 10 or 20 grand, it's going to like ruin someone's life. Now, again, for the people who are doing this, losing $10,000 or $20,000 would ruin a lot of people's lives. It's just those aren't the people in the prediction market. And so having this median bet size of, call it, I don't know, $20,000 to $40,000 is pretty interesting, because it means that like people aren't just putting $5. Right. It is something that they obviously have some deep conviction in, and they're looking for, what is the payoff? What can I possibly generate with this? And so I think the prediction markets are only going to become more important over time.
I agree. And I think I think every election they'll get bigger and bigger. But what's really interesting to me is that, and I see this in media all the time, the traditional polling and prediction markets get compared.
I think that is a tangent ring on his finger. I'm sorry. I'm like squirreling over here on this finger. I want to know if that's the tangent ring.
As if they're measuring the same thing, but they're actually not. That's and you funny. Sort of just touched on this. A prediction market is measuring someone's conviction in an outcome, but then a poll is measuring who someone is going to vote for or who they want to win, even if they don't think they're going to win.
One way to think about this is like batting average versus slugging percentage, right? And so like the poll is kind of like your batting average, right? It's just like, hey, how many times did we ask somebody, are you voting for Harris or Trump? And then this is kind of what they're saying. The prediction market in a weird way is basically looking for like, how many home run swings are you taking? Like, what is that slugging percentage? And so it is measuring something that's a little bit different. Now, what I will say that, I believe this is what the outcome's going to be. So let me make a prediction about prediction markets if you'll let me. I believe that the prediction markets are going to be way more accurate than people think they are. And I think that people will start to point to the prediction markets more and more as a data point or a signal for future events, whether it's politics related or not. But I think that the rise of prediction markets is going to set an alarm off in the polling world and specifically in the politics world. And when that happens, they are going to try to take components of or lessons from the prediction markets and start to incorporate it into their polling. And so I previously was like, oh, you know what's going to happen? Prediction markets are going to be more accurate. Polling is going to be over, the death of polls. I don't think anymore that's what's going to happen. I've talked to a number of people now. What I think is going to start to happen is you're going to start to see these two things start to merge a little bit. And people are going to say, hey, you know what we could do? Like, what if we take some of the best parts of polling and we start to combine it with some of these free market ideas around economics and prediction markets, et cetera, let's put them together. What that looks like, I don't know. But you can imagine campaigns of the future trying to figure that out. And whoever is successful will have kind of the best data points on what is actually the truth on the ground. And when they get that truth, then they're ready to rock and roll. If you got an information advantage in politics, and you're pretty well suited.
Yeah, that could be a great business if you can combine where people would put their money and how they personally view, their political leanings. I do wonder something that is interesting about the predictions and the polling. Polling, I think, is a lot harder to meet someone that has actually been called for poll, but then prediction markets, I know a ton of people that have put bets down, and that makes me think, maybe I hang out with a bunch of gamblers, but also how widespread are these polls really going?
Because some of these polls are like 3,000 people.
Yep.
We have a country of 330 million Americans, and they called 2,800 people, and they asked them some questions. And then, by the way, if you think about it from one standpoint, you're like, wow, that's a really small sample size. On the other hand, especially if they're calling, to make 3,000 phone calls, sure, you got a lot of people calling, whatever, but like that's still a lot of phone calls. And so what they're looking for is they're looking for statistical significance. And you can imagine that designing the poll is almost more important than running the poll, right? So when I was at Facebook, one of the lessons that we learned was there's two things that were really important when you were doing kind of this iterative testing growth work. Is one, you got to design the right test. What is it that we are actually trying to answer here? So if, for example, you're trying to see, does the color red or green look better on me? Well, the test should probably involve having red and green put on you and then asking people what looks better or whatever your metric is. It wouldn't make sense to run a test of is red or green look better and me walk around with a black shirt on, right? So designing the test is really important. The second thing, and the part that everyone forgets, is that it is essential that you run the test perfectly. Because if you get to the end of the test and you have the results and you're looking at them and it invalidates whatever your hypothesis was. So your hypothesis was red is going to look better than green. And you get to the end and it's like, oh, green looks better than red. You say to yourself, okay, but if you did not run the test perfectly as designed, you're left wondering, is it because my thesis was wrong, or would I have gotten the desired result if I had run the test perfectly? And so perfect execution is really important. If you go back to the polling, designing the test or designing the poll is really important. How well do they actually execute is a black box. Nobody knows. And so there's kind of those two components, but there's a third thing that Donald Trump introduced over the last 10 years or so in politics. There's a lot of people who voted for him in 2016 that did not want to tell anyone. There's way more people now who see, I mean, they just held a rally in Madison Square Garden with 20,000 people inside and 70,000 people standing outside. A lot of MAGA hats, a lot of all this stuff, right? So like, it looks like there's more people willing to show that support. But does it show up in the polls? Nobody knows. And so I do think that that is quite telling. One last thing I'll say to you about asset prices in politics I think is pretty important is that the rhetoric in this country has changed. We now are a country where people are going to start to fight back against taxes. That changed in the 2024 election. We have never had political candidates who agreed to not tax certain groups in the way that we're seeing right now. No tax on tips. That was the crack in the dam. No tax on Social Security, another crack in the dam. No tax on overtime, another crack in the dam. I've heard the idea floated that no tax on police, firemen, paramedics, crack in the dam. We had Howard Lutnick on the podcast. He's talking about could we actually generate revenue and potentially put a dent in, lower, or even eliminate income tax. We now are a country that is getting back to its roots where people are saying to themselves, why is it that certain citizens are paying more than 50% of their income to the government? And if you don't pay more than 50%, why are you paying 40 or 30 or even 25%? Because this country existed for a long time with no income tax. And so now it doesn't mean that we're going to go from a lot of income tax to no income tax. What it does mean, though, is you have an entire generation of people who start asking the question. The question eventually leads to proposals. Proposals eventually lead to action. And my bet is that over the next 20 to 30 years, you're going to see a lot of politicians running on the platform of, I'm going to actually drop your personal taxes, corporate tax rate, all that stuff. That's always going to get debated. But there are going to be a lot of politicians that say, it is unfair that you pay so much in taxes. I'm going to bring it down. Now, there will be some that I would put in the category of being amateurs who are just going to promise, I'm going to lower your tax rate, but they don't have a plan. There's going to be others that show up and they say, if I remove 10% off every single person's personal tax rate, I got to replace the revenue somewhere. Here's my plan how to do that. And so we are now entering an age of creative finance in the government, which has never been seen before, because the government historically has been filled with bureaucrats and people who they don't want to get fired. They don't want to take risks. They want to simply keep the machine going. But what I am hearing in the rhetoric from people, definitely in the Republican Party, but also starting to even see some people on the Democrat side, right? Some of these forward-thinking people, Hakeem Jeffries, Ro Khanna, et cetera. Creative finance is coming to the government. And the question is, what is the actual things that get implemented? How do they get implemented? What are the results? All that's up for debate. But have you ever heard people talk about America Inc.? Have you ever heard people talk about monetizing the balance sheet of America? Have you heard people talk about let's get other countries to pay so we can lower our citizens' tax rates? Game on. And that's the world that we're headed into, and it's pretty exciting.
That
is exciting.
I think does sound exciting, but I feel like, sitting here in 2024, there are so many reasons why people would push back on that. And I think what would a politician's incentive be to lower everyday Americans' taxes?
There's two candidates in this party or in this race. One of them's not a politician. There's a lot of people who are talking about it. They're not politicians. You're talking about business people who are saying enough, right? And so it blew my mind. This is something that I've changed my opinion on, or at least evolved my opinion on, was talking to Howard Lutnick. And sitting there, he's not a politician. He's actually very opposite of what most politicians are. But he's sitting there and he's saying to himself, wait a minute, this is a business problem. We're talking about revenue and expenses. Doesn't mean America is a business or the government should be a business, but it does mean revenue and expenses, that's a business problem. How do we solve this? Oh, I'm a finance person. Guess what? We have a balance sheet. Guess what? We have this. And that's the difference. And so what I also see on the Democrat side, Mark Cuban, Anthony Scaramucci, right? I see people there as well. They're just as smart, just as capable, just as, I think, loving of America as well. And so now what you get is you get this rise of these business people who is no longer taboo to say, oh, I don't want to be involved in politics. The graying of the lines. You can get on Twitter and you can see people who you never thought. Bill Ackman is tweeting about politics just as much as he's tweeting about finance, right? And vice versa. So is Mark Cuban. In what world did we have people doing this? Because historically, all these conversations happened in private, right? And you had to go on the mainstream media. That was the outlet. They had the monopoly on distribution. That's gone. Now you got a supercomputer in your pocket. You pull it out, type a couple things on your keyboard. Bam, you're reaching millions of people with your messaging. Elon Musk is campaigning in Pennsylvania. Again, Scaramucci going door to door in Pennsylvania. Right? These are just a couple of examples. But we now are seeing the graying of business and politics. And as you bring more and more of these business people into politics, they show up with skills and experience that can be helpful. And so I think that the single greatest alliance that can get created is all the business people come together. And in business, usually what ends up happening is people don't want to burn bridges. The whole idea of tribalism and kind of the political, land in the or line in the sand doesn't exist as much in business. So they say, hey, let's do a deal. Let's figure out how to do this. And so maybe the business people come in and they may not be able to solve all the problems. I know they won't be able to solve all the problems, but there may be some economic or business issues that they can solve. And if we start to see that happening, then we can keep pushing the country in a direction that I think most Americans are pretty happy with.
Do you have a dark horse prediction for the next 2 or 3 elections of who would come over from the business side to do, come in and disrupt politics?
I don't think it'll happen in the next 2 or 3 elections, but I think Kim Kardashian will be president.
Wow.
Yeah. Kim Kardashian is one of the only people in society who's been able to be a chameleon and continue to iterate herself from a sex tape to a reality star to an entrepreneur, now to a criminal defense and kind of legal scholar who's literally got people out of prison. She's one Instagram post away from being the governor of California. And if you can be the governor of California, you can be the president. She's very popular, and she's still young enough and tapped in enough to a very large portion of the audience where she can dominate headlines. And so as she has gotten more aspirational, she's got a private equity fund, kind of all these different things. She's epitome of the American dream, which that is very mind-bending to a lot of people.
That's a hot take.
But that story is going to end up resonating with a lot of people. And so that's my really big dark horse. I think The Rock will try as well. There's something about being physically dominating on stage in these debates, et cetera, that is very helpful to a candidate. And I think that, I've always said, imagine Donald Trump and The Rock debating each other, and The Rock standing there and Trump's firing away at him, and The Rock just goes, shut your candy ass up. And I think a lot of people would find it quite funny, right? He's very charismatic. And I think that would resonate with people as well. And man, if The Rock sat down with Putin, I think that maybe the power dynamic's a little bit different. And so there is something about people like Kim Kardashian or The Rock that I think will continue to infiltrate into politics. Trump, was a great example. A lot of people forget Zelensky in Ukraine. Like, this is a trend that is happening across society. And the last thing that I would say is I would expect that we start to see very different marketing of these campaigns. MSG for the Republican event like that's basically a concert, right? How many stars, objective stars, not political stars, just stars are showing up to that, right? Pretty crazy. Look at the podcast usage by both Harris and Trump, changing the landscape. And so as all this stuff starts to evolve, it opens up an opportunity for people like a Kim Kardashian or The Rock to start to insert themselves into it because they're much more native to those kind of venues than, let's say, kind of traditional politics where you've got to go and kind of play the machine game.
Yeah, he's losing me on all this shit. All the people that are like, all these famous people that are coming out and endorsing certain candidates and stuff. I don't know. It's kind of a complete mess. All right, let's watch a little bit of this. Lark Davis. Let's see what he's got to say. Bitcoin, this can't be real. I usually just watch like the beginning of his stuff. He starts chilling shit towards the end, but let's see what he's got to say over here. Guys, that like button. Appreciate you for hanging out. Let's do it.
Looking at the news today in Bitcoin, and you just get that feeling like, holy crap. Is this actually happening? Can this actually be real? Are these numbers legit? Did they really say this? Massive MicroStrategy news, massive Bitcoin ETF news, some charts, some other good stuff. Your mind's going to be blown. My mind's blown. I cannot believe what's going on right now.
I wonder if he's drinking that baby bottle in the back.
On the crypto space. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this beast of a day. $893 million of Bitcoin ETF inflows. Now, we were talking yesterday on, what was that, Tuesday or whatever, how essentially Wall Street bought the equivalent of an entire month's supply of Bitcoin miner production. They did it again.
I was gonna say, they did it again. That's crazy. Again, it was 870
What's going on?
The day before.
Coffee real quick. Hold on.
Crazy.
Holy cow. No, this isn't. Are you seeing what is happening? These numbers are just out of control. In the last month, like we talk about an up-frickin-tober, dude. This is the Uptober of promise because I know Uptober's technically finished. Happy November to everybody who celebrates. It's technically November in New Zealand, not in Dubai yet. We're still on Halloween here. Anyway, happy Halloween for those of you who celebrate that as well. Anyway, besides the point, what a massive month for Bitcoin. We had $5 billion or something like that in the month of October flooding into Bitcoin ETF products. That is gargantuan in 1 month. Just Wall Street, not whales, not any retail buyers, no one else buying like actual Bitcoin off Coinbase and sticking it in their wallets. Just Bitcoin ETFs bought the equivalent of
Insane.
6 months of Bitcoin miner emissions. This is the post-Bitcoin halving world. This is the new reality where miners cannot even come close to producing enough Bitcoin to meet the raging demand for these products. It's absolutely mind-blowing. Man, what a day. What a day. Bitwise CEO says $22 billion inflows for Bitcoin ETFs. Actually, $25 billion now. This is recorded a few days ago. We've had $3 billion in like the last week. It's been nuts. Anyway, he said it's just the start. Gold had increasing inflows every year to their ETF products for 8 years straight after they launched. You think Bitcoin ETFs are not going to continue being popular? Especially as these Bitcoin ETFs start getting added into more and more ETF indexes? Things are going to get real crazy, guys. Not saying there won't be big corrections. Not saying that we go straight to the moon without any stops on the way. Guys, it's not how it works in any market ever, okay? But look at the numbers. Look at the trend, the big trend. And you'll see where we're going. Bitwise exec also saying the US dollar does not need to collapse for Bitcoin to reach $200,000. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. This is something you hear a lot. Like, oh, the only way Bitcoin gets to $200,000 or even $1 million is for the dollar to collapse. I don't think so. That's not the case. There is so much demand right now for Bitcoin, and it's only going to keep getting bigger. Yesterday, we covered the state of Florida. State of freaking Florida, man. One of the biggest economies in the world if you just isolate it as its own economy. Texas and California also are top 20 economies. Anyway, besides the point. The state of Florida is going to start buying Bitcoin soon. And then probably Texas will say, crap, we better buy some Bitcoin too. California probably won't. But, Florida and Texas will because they're switched on like that. But this is crazy. There's simply not enough Bitcoin. There's not enough Bitcoin for all the millionaires in the world. If every millionaire in the world wanted to get one Bitcoin, they couldn't. They can only buy a third of a Bitcoin a piece or a quarter of a Bitcoin a piece. If you take into account family offices, billionaires who might want more than one Bitcoin, okay? Endowments, state treasuries, sovereign wealth funds. You run out of coins real fast. And what that means is when everybody wants to buy the same coins, the price starts going up because there's not enough of it to meet the demand at a certain price, okay? Hey, real quick, if you're a cryptocurrency trader...
Nope. All right, that's when I get out. I know he's trying to shill some shit. All right, why BlackRock is aggressively buying Bitcoin before this U.S. election. Let's see what Altcoin Daily's got to say over here.
But the last 13 days have been kind of extreme.
Just in, the total Bitcoin ETF trading volume has surpassed 4.5 billion today, and it's undeniable that BlackRock, Fidelity, and institutions are actively buying Bitcoin.
You look at the inflows that you've seen, and is there anything unusual?
I mean, we see visually the amount of accumulation happening as we're seeing hundreds of millions of dollars, almost $1 billion, in both the last 2 days of net inflows.
Yeah, I mean, these things, they took in tons of money. Like, they launched in early January. They took in tons of money in March and April. Obviously, they took in a ton of money right when they launched. But the last 13 days have been kind of extreme. I mean, 12 of the last 13 days have been inflows, and the total inflows are just shy of $5 billion. So we're at like $4.7, $4.8 billion that have come in just over the last 13 trading days. So I think some of this is momentum chasing. Obviously, as price runs up, some of this has relation to do with the Trump odds of victory. People are, I think that a Trump victory would be good for Bitcoin. I don't know exactly what's causing it, but there's a lot of demand coming into these ETFs.
So a Trump victory is being priced in. Of course, that's not guaranteed. This is just what the market thinks. And it's interesting that Ethereum, at least institutionally, isn't seeing this same sort of demand, at least buying through the ETFs. But why?
Because the standout we've seen between Bitcoin and Ethereum has been pretty significant here. Is it because Bitcoin alone is part of the Trump trade?
Honestly, no, it's definitely not that. So it can't just be Trump, because in my mind, Ethereum might actually benefit more potentially from Trump victory. You can make that argument, right? But Ethereum ETFs as a whole just are not seeing the same level of interest. I mean, you talked about 23 billion since those things launched in January. Ethereum ETFs launched in July, and technically they have a net outflow of $500 million. So the demand is just not there on the Ethereum side of things. There's a lot. I could sit here and talk for this entire segment about why I think that is, but some of it just has to do with Ethereum being somewhat more complex. People understand Bitcoin a lot easier, right? It's just digital gold, digital store of value. It's a bet against currency debasement, all of these different things. And then you look at Ethereum, and is it, a tokenization platform, digital app platform? Who knows? There's a whole bunch of ways you could describe it. And it's just, I think investors just aren't ready and fully equipped to understand what's going on there. And Bitcoin is one of one as far as most people are concerned.
And this brings us to the economy's dirty little secret. Why U.S. government bonds, 10-year yield, why they're going up.
And forget about the stock market. The smart money is in the bond market.
The bond market's going up because people...
Well, also, Bitcoin has a fixed supply. Ethereum could just continue to make more, right? I get it. It's much different than Bitcoin.
People don't trust this economy in the short term. And also Bitcoin and gold are going up because no matter which US presidential candidate is elected in a few days, none of them has really talked about decreasing the amount of crippling debt the US is under.
Gold, probably Bitcoin as well, have further to go because we just don't have a plan as a country to deal with this 35 trillion in debt and growing. And we're listening to both candidates, and I haven't heard any talk about any kind of reduction in spending. There is no plan. And forget about the stock market. The smart money is in the bond market. So here we had the Fed cut rates 50 basis points, and everyone said, great, here we go. And what happened? In the next month, the 10-year Treasury yield rose 50 basis points. And that's telling you that the bond market, that's the smart money, that's institutional money, is concerned. It's not buying in.
And the very last thing I want to share with you on the Anthony Pompliano podcast. By the way, stay tuned. I just was on stage with CZ here in Dubai. Such a great conversation. I want to share with you some of the questions I asked him.
What the hell? CZ's out there talking publicly after his whole being in prison stuff. Good for him.
But on Pom's podcast, he had the Cantor Fitzgerald CEO, Howard Lutnick. By the way, also one of the major contributors to Trump. How he has already accumulated hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in exposure to Bitcoin. And every time Bitcoin dips, he's not stopping.
I have hundreds of millions of dollars. Okay. Hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars.
So he's the guy he's one of the guys that'll get hit by that tax on capital gain, unrealized capital gains, because you have over 100 million or whatever it is.
Exposure to Bitcoin. And it will be billions.
I was going to say, so next year when you come back.
Yeah, but you remember that model I told you? So if every time Bitcoin dips, I'm going to be the buyer.
Trust me, I know why you're doing the lending. Listen, you don't have to explain that one around here.
So I got the 50% Bitcoin, I got the Bitcoin lending, but basically what you're going to see is Cantor Fitzgerald is going to be the sponsor of Bitcoin into traditional finance.
Mm-hmm.
And so we will be the leader of it. And I'll pull out this podcast in years to come and say, see, I told you, because no one's going to remember.
Of course.
Right? But all the banks, after we do it and show people how to do it right, they'll all copy.
Mm-hmm.
And so the asset of Bitcoin will just, as it becomes more accepted, it will become more valuable. And the whole Bitcoin nation should just call it a commodity, never a currency.
Mm-hmm.
Just call it a commodity. Because if it's a currency, you're attacking the politicians of the country, right? You're trying to replace my currency with yours.
Mm-hmm.
But if you say, hey, I'm just oil, I'm just gold, I'm just a commodity, leave me be, right? Then they'll leave you be. And that is true. And it will be why Bitcoin, which is rare and is special, will become ever more rare, as we both know, ever more valuable over time.
We are not going to see less of this over the next 5-10 years. We're going to see more billionaires and multimillionaires like this.
Look, I think this is the best single time to invest in Bitcoin from a risk-adjusted perspective.
Even ETF expert and friend of the channel, Matt Hogan, explains.
All of the major existential risks of Bitcoin have been washed away. We have an ETF. We have institutions. They are coming into the space. The biggest catalyst is that move of institutional adoption. We're seeing that accelerate. We saw $800 million in ETF flows yesterday alone. This is a tidal wave of institutional assets moving into the space. There's a fixed supply, and from my perspective, that means higher prices.
By the way, if you've watched thus far in today's video, click subscribe. We're so close to 1.5 million subscribers. Why you should do it is because we drop a video every single day, keeping you informed about cryptocurrency.
You know, regardless of how you feel about Altcoin Daily, they do drop a video every single day, and it makes my job a lot easier.
And I know our schedule for posting
no, but for real, it's a lot of work to drop a video every single day. I get they have a team, but man, I mean, shout out to them for doing that.
Little wacky this last week. Again, it's because my brother and I are in Dubai. I sat down with CZ, his very first interview post-prison, and asked the tough questions.
Yes, Andy is cheating because he does have a twin, so there's two of them.
The guards would ask you for altcoin picks.
There's a team though, other than that.
Guards recognize me and then ask me like, what coin should I buy?
Oh God, this audio is terrible.
Not pick the wrong coin. No, I told them, look, I'm inside. I don't have any access to information, right? So there's no internet. All my information is through like some limited length messages my friends or family send me, and we don't talk about crypto. So I did get a few guys ask. I did get a few guards ask me that. I did make a couple of friends who I still keep in touch with.
But seriously, CZ was such a great sport on his first interview back, and it went so great. I'm gonna get this footage. I'm gonna post it on the channel, so stay tuned.
Interesting.
But we did talk about Giggle Academy, his new venture. What's next for him? What's his affiliation now with Binance? His thoughts on crypto and Bitcoin into next year, everything. So cool.
Dude, F that. If I was CZ, I'd be like, see ya. I ain't doing nothing to do with crypto right now, or anything publicly anyways, because, yeah, fuck that. I ain't going back to jail. All right, recap, segment of things. Bitcoin, 70,190 bucks. You got Ethereum at 2520.
Perfect.
Everything looks fine. It's in the red, but you know what? Fire sale before the election. I'm still wondering if it's going to be a sell the news event. Buy the rumor, sell the news, you know. I think that's kind of what's going on, but we're going to have to see. Really, going to have to see. Caspa, under 12 cents, 11.9 as of right now. We have Litecoin at just under 70 bucks, 69.84. We got ETC at 18.48. Let's see. Dogecoin 16 cents, just about 16.2 to be exact. Meme coins are having a little bit of a pullback. CRE, this carry token's up 5% today to 40 cents, just about. BitTensor, 465 bucks. This might be a good buy. Not financial advice, but it was $600 not too long ago, and it did go down to like $299 a couple weeks back. So yeah, it's could definitely be a good buy. Crypto bubbles over here. Biggest loser of the day is Mutable X, 14.1% down on the day, $1.16. Biggest earner of the day seems to be this Athena now. ENA, 5.3% up on the day, 37 cents. Flashbang, Fear and Greed Index looking like a 75. Again, be greedy when people are fearful and fearful when people are greedy. We're under 75. Well, we're at 75, right at the needle. This is where I like to see it. Again, anything before 75 is fine in my opinion. Once you get over that, then, you know, the extreme greed kicks in and people either FOMO in or it's about to drop really hard, and then we have a big pullback. So I don't know. You guys let me know what you think about it. Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully you guys have a good day. It's Friday. I want more Bitcoin too, but unfortunately, we only got so much money to go around. That's how it goes. All right, let me see if I can get this freaking thing up now. Obviously it is Friday. You guys know I always play this, but I could not open half the freaking links this morning that I was trying to put in my stream. So yeah, I don't know. We're gonna check it out. All right, guys, have a good, happy, and safe Friday. I'll leave you guys with this as I do every Friday. I'll catch you guys maybe tomorrow. I'm not sure. We might skip the stream tomorrow just because the politics stuff. I don't want it to turn into a political stream, so I'm probably not going to be doing that. But I don't know. If we go live tomorrow, I'll let you guys know. I'm missing Mining Saturday Night Live. Either way, I'll be back Monday morning, and I'll catch you guys then. Have a good weekend, and peace out.
I wanna hold on till I can't no more.
We don't talk. We don't talk. Have a happy and safe Friday, everybody. Don't forget to vote. Peace, peace.
Fuck, dude, spit on that thing.
Perfect.